Welcome all my dear students in my channel 5 Minute School. Today I will discuss about the Salt March and the civil disobedience movement. In 1922, Mahatma Gandhi decided to withdraw the non-cooperation movement because he felt that movement was turning violent in many places and satyagrahis needed to be properly trained before they would be ready for the mass struggles. But when Gandhi had taken such kind of decisions, then within the Congress, some leaders were by now tired of mass struggles and wanted to participate in the elections to the provincial council that had been set up by the Government of India Act of 1919. Some leaders felt that it was important to oppose British policies within the council, and that is why C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed one party, and that party name is SWARAJ party. In another side, younger leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for more radical mass agitation and for full independence. Now, during this particular situation time, international some incident had created different kind of scenario within India, and here two factors actually shaped Indian politics towards the late 1920s. And this among the two factors, the first one was the effect of the worldwide economic depression, and the agriculture prices began to fall from 1926 and collapsed after 1930. And as the demand for agricultural goods fell and exports declined, peasants found it difficult to sell their harvest and pay the revenue. By 1930, countryside was in turmoil. In one side, when economically country faced huge amount of challenges, and another side, politically also, country had faced different kind of situation. What kind of situation? This time, Tony government in Britain set up a commission in response to the national movement in India. But unfortunately, within that commission, there was no Indian. All members were British. So finally, when Simon Commission arrived in India in which year? 1928. That time, all over the India, all parties, including Congress and Muslim League, participated in the demonstrations, and they had given slogan "Simon, go back." This time, Viceroy Lord Irwin announced in October 1929 that they will give dominion status for India, but he didn't give in the time, as well as he had mentioned that one in the roundtable conference to discuss a future concession. But unfortunately, whatever proposals given by the Irwin, that time Congress leaders were not satisfied with such kind of announcement. The radicals within the Congress led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose became more assertive. What happened? In December 1929, Lahore session of Congress, these leaders had demanded Purna Swaraj or full independence for India, and it was declared that 26 January 1930 would be celebrated as the Independence Day, when people were to take a pledge to struggle for complete independence. The celebration attracted very little attention. So Mahatma Gandhi had to find a way to relate this abstract idea of freedom to more concrete issue of everyday life. And that is why Mahatma Gandhi found in salt a powerful symbol that could unite the nation. On 31st January 1930, he sent a letter to Viceroy Irwin with 11 demands. And these all demands for the industrialists to peasants. Among the several demands was abolish the salt tax. Salt was the essential commodity used by the rich and the poor alike, and it was one of the most essential items of food. The tax on salt and the government monopoly over its production, Mahatma Gandhi declared and revealed the most oppressive phase of the British rule. But somehow Gandhi's letter was the ultimatum for the British. Gandhi said if the demands were not fulfilled by 11 March, then Congress would launch a civil disobedience campaign. But as usual, Arvind was unwilling to negotiate. And finally, Mahatma Gandhi started his famous civil disobedience movement with the Salt March with his 78 followers from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi. The volunteers nearby took 24 days to cross 140 miles, 10 miles per day. And thousands came to hear Mahatma Gandhi wherever he stopped, and he told them what he meant by Swaraj and urged them to peacefully defy the British. And on 6th April he reached Dandi and ceremonially violated the law manufacturing salt by boiling sea water. Now this one is very much significant. This marked the beginning of the civil disobedience movement. However, this movement was different from the non-cooperation movement. People were now asked not only to refuse cooperation with the British as they had done in 1921-22, but also to break colonial laws. Thousands in different parts of the country broke the salt law, even manufactured salt and demonstrated in front of the government salt factories. And as the movement spread, foreign cloth was boycotted and liquor shops were picketed. Peasants refused to pay revenue and CHAUKIDARI taxes. Village officials resigned, and in many places, forest people violated forest laws, going into reserve forest to collect wood and graze cattle. Now, when people had shown their anger to this kind of programs and the methods, another side, British had also shown their own character by arresting the people. Even colonial government began arresting the Congress leaders one by one, and finally this led to violent clashes in many places. When Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, who was known as the Frontier Gandhi, as because Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan following the ideology of Mahatma Gandhi. So this Khan Abdul Ghaffar Khan, a devotee of disciple of Mahatma Gandhi, was arrested in April 1930. Now, angry crowds demonstrated in the streets at Peshawar facing armored cars and also police firing. Many were killed. Even a month later, when Mahatma Gandhi himself was arrested, industrial workers in Sholapur attacked police posts, even municipal buildings, law courts and railway stations, all structures that symbolize the British rule. A frightened government responded with a policy of brutal repression, and peaceful satyagrahis were attacked, women and children were beaten, and about 1 lakh people were arrested. And finally, in such situation, Mahatma Gandhi once again decided to call off the movement and entered into a pact with Arvind on 5th March 1931. Finally, Gandhi went to London for the conference, but the negotiations was not much more fruitful. Gandhi came back in India because what demand he had was not fulfilled by the British. Even this time, Jawaharlal Nehru, side by side Ghaffar Khan also were in jail, and even Congress was declared as the illegal. So finally, Gandhi again relaunched the civil disobedience movement. But unfortunately, this time people not given or had shown their support like the earlier, not shown. And finally, in the year 1934, this movement was stopped by Gandhi. So if we can recap all the points, then we can say after the non-cooperation movement, Swaraj party was formed by the C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru. Why? Because they wanted to enter the council, and within the council, they tried to create problem for the British. Even side by side, it is also very much important to know that one, Jawaharlal Nehru and also Subhash Chandra Bose, they were giving pressure on government, and they also declared that if government not accepting their demands, they will launch a strong movement. Gandhi had given their support, and finally Gandhi had used salt as the symbol to unite all sections of the society. And finally 1930 Gandhi had started his great salt march from Sabarmati Ashram to Dandi, and during this time people from all over the India had participated, and in different part of the country several clashes occurred between the policemen and the people. Finally, this movement stopped in 1934. So after discussing these all points, I'm asking some basic question and you can try to get the answer. First question, who formed Swaraj Party? Next question, who was known as the Frontier Gandhi and why? Another question, in which year Gandhi had started his famous Salt March? And finally, last question, Gandhi-Arvind Pact was signed in which year and between whom? All my dear students, try to give the answer, and if you have any doubts and queries, you can write in our comment box. Thank you, and like, share and subscribe my channel.